Hi, hello, welcome. It's Pip here from queenpipcards.com. Welcome to your blends month for September. September we're using the Bloom and Grow stamp set, and you have two sets of blends, Pumpkin Pie combo and the Just Jade combo, which is our new in colour. So I have gone ahead and stamped all my images. Some of them I have die cut out, so this one I've die cut out. This uses the dies that come with this stamp set, but if you don't have them, it's actually not that bad to cut that out by hand, so I would fussy cut it. You could, on alternative, use the piece of cardstock and just stamp them like so. So you have them just stamped with a bit of a gap in the middle. And just have this as a white band across your card. It's just that I decided to cut them out because I like the look of them like that. Okay, so I'm going to go through each card, how I've stamped it, what it needs to look like. If you're not using Bloom and Grow, you will use something similar, hopefully. So for this card, I've included some little tiny flowers. Okay, so please don't lose them. They will be in your envelope or packet. So yes, so I've included lots of little flowers because I've used all the little tiny embellishment kind of stamps. So we get lots of these in lots of flat floral sets where we have just little sort of sprigs and sprays. So I decided to use those as the main feature for this card. And you will have Just Jade base, a piece of Daffodil Delight. You'll have a piece of either this or this design. Okay, and then you'll have another piece of Daffodil Delight, you'll have this punched, and then you will have a piece of white cardstock, which I won't punch because it depends on what sentiment you're using. This uses the Peaceful Moments Thank You. Okay, and then you'll have a bunch of little flowers. Oops. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and start our colouring. I stamped all mine on this side, left a little bit of an edge. We're going to do a little bit with an edging technique. I'm going to have to put some grid paper down. So let me get just a little piece so it's not all too zizzy for you. Okay. So with your pumpkin, I just want to do what I call quick blending. Okay, we spent a lot of time spending lots of time colouring in, and we'll probably do that again in other sessions, but I want to do just quick blending. Okay, so this is where you just sort of pop on some colour, but you're not really taking much. I know it's going to be really against your nature, but you're not taking very much care with it. You're just being a bit slapdash, and that's okay. Okay, because slapdash can sometimes look really nice, almost like it's a watercolour, like a handmade card. So sometimes a bit of slapdash is good. We'll pop some little ones on here. And I know it's like, oh no, Pip, you're not in the lines. No, I know, I'm not in the lines. I'm out of the lines. The lines are free. Okay, then we'll do some green. And again, the same. Just sort of colour it in. A little bit crazy. Leaving a little few gaps here and there. It's okay, you can do that. It's all right. I love the colour of this jade with the pumpkin pie. It's really nice. Okay, then we're going to come back in with our, you can come back in two-tone it if you like, but a two-tone colour doesn't hurt. There we go. But you want to make it look as if you know that you've gone outside the lines. Okay, so it's not, it's obviously not supposed to be coloured in, otherwise it'll just look messy. Okay, so we're just going to put some bits on there, and then you're going to run down the edge of your card one of your little line things. Okay, you're going to make it really obvious that it's not straight, because you don't want it to be straight. And then you're going to go with your darker colour, a little bit of a darker colour in here, again obviously not straight. Okay, and then we're going to go with a tiny weeny bit of green, again not straight, doesn't matter, just on the edge. You're all going, Pip, what are you doing to us? And then I'm finishing it off with just a line of green down this side as well. A little bit of line of green. Again, obviously not straight. Okay, that's like, but then you're going to take, when you've stamped your sentiment, you're going to do exactly the same. So you're going to put some swishes, like so, with your light pumpkin, swishes with your dark pumpkin, swishes with your green. Okay, so it's going to kind of match as it goes up. Okay. Then you're going to take your small little flowers, all right, and you're going to find the center part, and on the center part you're going to just use your nib and just put little dots. Again, not perfect. And then we're going to put it all together. So we will glue this one down. Because the colours, the papers behind are also not particularly perfectly coloured in. They've got those light, well they are, but they've got the light and dark shading going on. So it sort of matches. And then this one. And you can choose whether you want to put it centrally or if you want to put it off to one side. I'm putting this one centrally. And then I'm putting this central to this. Now it's a shorter piece, it's a 13.9, so there's a gap. That's intentional. Okay, so pop this down. If you wanted to, you could put a piece of Whisper White card underneath, but I liked it going yellow to yellow to yellow. Okay, and then we're going to take our glue, and where you feel like you've got a few gaps or where there's a bit that kind of comes together, like there's a little bit of a gap, maybe there, we're going to stick one of the little flowers, and the Take Your Pick tool's great for this. There we go, that looks okay. And then I might stick one over here, like so. We're going to put this this way around here, which covers up a bit of your colouring, or you could put it this way around if you prefer, and it covers up a little bit less. And then we're going to put a little one of those just on top there, so it kind of pulls it all together. Okay, so that's how it's going to go. Fold your card over. Obviously if you wanted to add additional flowers on, you can. I've only given you 6, so because it's 2 sets of 3, so it's kind of odd. Numbers will have 5 and then a 1, so it'll be odd, which is what it should be when you're doing card making or any kind of floral arrangement. So then pop that one on like so. This one I'm doing on dimensionals, but it'll be minis on this side and normal on that side, just because of the height difference. Oh, and I forgot, you've got I meant to say we've got a couple of these little leaf things as well that I forgot to mention. So everyone's got one of these, which this is not from this set. This is actually from the what's this from? A Good Time or something like that. But it's got these lovely little fronds which look very similar to these. So we're going to add that just, which I think it'd look nicer on that side, wouldn't it? So it shows up a little bit more. So we're going to add that just there, and then we will glue that. You can glue dot it or you can multi-purpose glue it, it's up to you. This is where I want my sentiment to be, so I'll pop that down there. And then we need to make sure that this goes over the top of it. So don't panic. It needs to be a little higher, Pip. There we go. That's the bit I wanted to cover up. So it just sort of pulls it all together, that piece. So we're going to not leave. Put some dimensionals over here, some little ones. Start building up where you're going to be putting your dimensionals and work that out first. So we can come down here, some mini ones again. In the middle there, and then I'll use larger ones, but I'll need to make sure I don't hit that. So the larger ones will come down here. So it's just about placement really. Make sure that you know roughly where your stuff's going to go. That looks like we won't get any soggy middles except maybe down that bit there. So I might just stick another one of those there. Perfect. Okay, so then we can take these off. I know it seems a bit faffy and fiddly, but it does help if you can just make sure that all your stuff goes on straight, rather than trying to just put the large dimensionals all over it and then it sort of sags off to one side slightly. So pop that down. There we go. And then this one I'll put flat so that we don't have too much height going on. This one will come across here like so. I love the fact that this punch you can do both. This is the fancy label punch and the Label Me Fancy and the lovely label or something like that. Can't remember. I will put it in your instructions. Then you know which one it is. There we go. That's just going to tie that together. Okay, so that's your first one. Just really to get you into the idea of not panicking too much, about being perfect, because actually it looks okay when you're not perfect, and just to be able to make a quick card with a blend. Okay, so that's that one. And we're going to start getting a bit more traditional with our colouring now. Don't panic. I did the hard one first. Alrighty. Now I did say that you needed to have a yellow, and I've chosen Daffodil Delight, but if you've got So Saffron or Mango Melody, they'll work just as well. And if you want to use a brown, you can. This is Crumb Cake. It's up to you. I want to show you how the orange and the green work together, but I just thought a bit of yellow might lift it slightly. So we're going to start off with our pumpkin pie. Deep in the centre of this flower. And I don't want these particularly blended, so I'm just going straight in on both of them. Good covering, but don't worry about getting too close to the edges just yet. So this one I just stamped the image twice, just twice along the bottom of the card base. Okay. Now, the reason why I said don't be too worried about the edges, because I want these to be lighter, so it's okay if I just go in once with these and then I'm going over stuff that's already there. So automatically that will make them lighter. Colour these in. And then start building up underneath. You know where now these things are going to be darker. They're going to be darker, I think that's part of this one. They're going to be darker at the back, they're going to be darker underneath, where the petals are where the petals, so where the petals are curling up, if they're curling up to the sun, they'll be lighter. Underneath that will always be darker. And then if you want to add some real dark back in again, we'll go back in with the dark. And then the light. So this is, they're not, although they look quite complicated, these flowers, they're actually quite easy to colour because they're a nice shape, and they're easy to tell which is light and dark. We like that. Some of them are a bit more complicated and it's harder to tell, but these ones are quite good. There we go. Go back in, and you can use the flick, or you can, you know, if you want them a little bit more subtle, you can flick, like we did before with the floral essence. We flicked with that, didn't we? My flick's not really, I should have turned that round, my flick's not working very well there today. But yeah, just keep going however dark you really want it to be, really, and however blended. Okay, so that's that. Now I wanted to show you that you can get a completely different colour. So I'm actually going to do these two flowers in the same and these two flowers in the same, even though they're different. So let's start this time with light all over. Okay, then get your light green and just touch the edges of the petals with the light green. You're going, Pip, you're putting green on a rose? Yep. The light green in there. And then blend in again. And it's weird because it's definitely green, but it kind of works. So don't be afraid to try different colours. Oops, oh no, help. So don't be afraid to try different colours, because as you blend them, they'll become something different to what you think they are. And you can almost just blend it to being part of the orange, almost like an accent. So it's, I don't know, it's one of those roses that's got like different accents in it. Okay, I'm going to do the same over here with this one. So all over with the light, either with the thick or the thin end, it doesn't matter. This is a slightly larger flower, so make sure it's the light one. I wouldn't try this with the dark necessarily, because you're trying to make it into a flower. You know, you do want to have it some semblance to a floral colour. But it just, I don't know, it works. Somehow it works. You do have to blend, you have to keep blending to get rid of those harsh edges. And then you get sort of a nice rich, almost a rusty tone, I guess. There we go. Okay, so then we're going to use the darker orange just a little bit on the inside, the dark pumpkin pie on the inside here. Okay, and here. And then we're going to take over and use our Daffodil Delight on this one. So we've got that merge of beautiful oranges and yellows. Again, we just want to lay down an initial colour base, and then we'll go back in, and this is the Daffodil Delight light that I'm using here. So we'll go over with the light and then we'll go back in with the dark. There we go. Oh, this one's got stuck. There we go. So you can sort of go from pumpkin pie through the dark daffodil in the centre, and then leading out to the lighter edges. Or you could do it the other way around. You know, you could put pumpkin at the outside and then the lighter one on the middle. But normally flowers tend to be darker in the centre. Normally. Okay, so that's that piece. Then leaves. Again, I'm going in sort of darkish in the middle. Not really with much finesse, it has to be said. And then I'll go back over with the lighter jade all around the edges. It's not masses of blending for these because they're not huge leaves, but we are going to take our colour lifter to some parts of this in a moment as well, just if you want to, but we need to let it sort of dry off a bit first. Okay, this just gives some two-tone to the leaves and pulls those flowers in. Dark, casual, oh, miss one, don't miss one. Just add the dark yellow, whichever yellow you've got. Just add the dark yellow for the little tabbly bits. Excellent. I'm just going to put that on there. See how much blending we did on those green ones, but it works nicely just to give it that darker colour. Then stretch your ribbon across the top. This is the Just Jade gingham ribbon. It's part of the Flowers for Every Season set. Sort of about there-ish. And it's got this little ridgy edge which I'm putting down to the bottom. Put that on your base. Get it straight. There we go. That's that. And then I've given you a piece of Whisper White very simply to just stamp your sentiment. Now you could actually stamp it directly onto the card if you're feeling brave, okay, or you could just lift it above the ribbon. It's whatever you want to do with that piece really. I'm just going to lift mine above, so no soggy middles, remember. And I've put this down before we're using the colour lifter, and that's perfectly fine. You can do that. Right, make sure that's straight. About central. Make sure you're central and straight. There we go. Okay, so now we'll do the colour lifting. So with your colour lifter in place, I just want to edge some of these leaves just slightly, and you're just taking off the tiniest piece up at the top, and it takes a while for it to actually start to show, but you can just... I've also managed to get some pumpkin, which I'll get rid of. Here, don't know. I think my nib just splayed out a bit. Splotched. Okay. They'll slowly go. So can you see? Hopefully you can see. I've just tipped these edges. And as you carry on with the colour lifter, they'll just start to get lighter. I don't want to do the flowers at this point, but you could do, if you wanted to do. We'll do that on another one. But we haven't really used the colour lifter for a while, so I just wanted to show you how you can do that. And as it dries, it gets lighter and lighter, so don't go heavy-handed. Just put a little bit in, see how it's going, add to it if you want to. But it's a nicer effect than just leaving it blank, because just leaving it blank has absolutely no colour, whereas if you use the colour lifter it just lifts the colour slightly. Next one I've given you is this one. We're into very oranges here, and I've given you these punched pieces because I thought you could probably put quite a lot of sentiments on this one. And this is a piece of ribbon from the Christmas catalogue. This is embroidered, it's just called embroidered ribbon, and I think it's part of a set. Again, I'll have to put it on the thing, but it's lovely. It's like a soft, well, you'll feel it anyway. Don't know why I'm telling you that. You're going to feel it anyway. So. And I want to pop on a few of these at this point as well. We've got the in your pack, so again, be careful. You're going to have just a few of these flowers for every season gems. We've used these before as well, but I just thought on this one a couple of white ones and clear ones would look lovely. So again, we have our card base. Don't stick all this down yet, just run with it. Pop that over there. You've got your Daffodil Delight, pop that over there, your bit of ribbon, your punched pieces. Obviously you need to stamp something on your punched piece, and then we're going to colour this piece. Now this time I'm going to start with my Just Jade, and we're going to go and do some real small blending. Okay, so I'm just going to do a couple at a time, and we're going to blend up to light. It probably won't show up right this second, but then we're going to come back in again with the colour lifter and do that extra bit of lift. So they sometimes, I love variegated leaves. They just look so pretty. So if you can make your leaves look variegated, that's great. And some of them even look good with well, you could do the orange on the outside too. I'm just going to stick with green for these because they're not that big. But you could put yellow or orange around the outside of them, you know, leaves that have those sort of two-tone edges. And doing it gives it real depth. So doing this will give your project, your design will look to have much more 3D effect if you can start to do some real variegation of colours. That's how it looks, you know, when you've got the sun on it and some bits are shining and some bits are not. So if you can have that in your head as you're doing your colouring, you'll really lift your colouring. At some point we'll need to do something with a large element, but we won't be able to do 4 cards in you know, my video, because otherwise it will take forever with the colouring. But you can get some truly beautiful variegation with a large flower or a large piece. So I suppose I could just video one for you, and then the rest you can do yourselves. That would work, wouldn't it? Could do 4 of the same, because we've got a beautiful, like the Christmas rose is just beautiful to do that with. And you don't even have to have it in Christmas colours. You can do it in pink if you wanted. In fact, that might look nice. Ooh. Lovely pink rose. I'll think about that. But even though it really doesn't look like you're doing very much. But I'll show you when it's up and you'll see. So can you see how this has just got some real depth of tone to it because it is lighter at one end than the other? That's what you're trying to get to, that tonal two-tone sort of colouring. Okay, so for this one again we're doing light pumpkin on the outside, and this time I'm going in with the light all the way around. But remember, you don't have to go right to the edges. Back in with the dark. Make sure you are meeting the two colours, and then back in over that join with the light again, and that sort of blends it all together but leaves you with that nice light outside. And then I'm just going to pop a little bit of daffodil right in the centre there to make that dark bit just a little bit more zingy. So light, now for this one you'll notice I've put dark on the outside of this because this petal is folded back on itself, so it would look on a real flower different to how the others look, so just be aware of that. And that might be one we'll go back in and do a bit of lightening up on with the colour lifter. Remember to turn your paper so that you're colouring right in front of you. Don't try and stretch over here to colour, because you can see it much better for a start, and you're less likely to do any kind of smudging. Oh, I've done that already. In with your yellow on your little ends. Could leave them white if you wanted to. If you don't have a yellow, leave those white. I forgot the yellow in the middle of that. Need to do that. There we go. Okay. So on this one, I think I will just add a little colour lift to the very tips of these petals. Okay. Now, while it's wet, it's very much more that it moves the ink. It's very much more noticeable that it moves the ink quite a lot. Okay, when it's dry, it's a bit more subtle. So just pick a couple of petals that you think, yep, they need to be really lightened up at the edges, because that's where the sun would hit them. And you can just add in a spot of colour lifting. So it's normally the ones that are closest to you. So just think about that. Yeah, I think that kind of covers it. That one might be a little lighter. Okay, and again, hopefully you can now see the difference that that colour lifting has made on there and on there. It's really brightened those up again. Okay, now assemble your card. This time we're putting the ribbon across here, okay, and then this will just sort of fit over the top of it here, like that. So that's what we're aiming for. If you wanted to, because this is sort of got a crumb cake tone to it, you could add a swoosh on here that's a little crumb cakey, or you could add a little bit more crumb cake into those. I think I'm going to add a little crumb cake on here, so we'll just do a bit of a swoosh. Don't make it perfect, just want it to be a little background piece. Again, you can double layer this if you wish, but I just want to put it on like so. And this little postage stamp, which we used in, oh, what was that? June, July, something like that. It just pops out the little edges, so it just fits nice over the top of that. And then, again, I'm going to attach this just with dimensionals at the top, so it sits on top of the ribbon. If you think it's going to move from sitting on top of the ribbon, then I would use a little bit of glue on your card. So I'm just going to put a little bit of glue on there, and then that way when that gets to the ribbon it will stick. If you see what I mean. You'll see what I mean. Just popping it above like so. There we go. There we go. And then we're going to add just a few little, we'll put one here. You could put a little dimensional underneath there if you wanted to as well. That's up to you. So I've just popped on the 3 white clear, well, sort of opaque, aren't they really, dots here, because they sort of match. They kind of match these little bubbly things. You could always put one on, you could put them on the bubbles if you wanted to, and they could sort of be see-through. Okay, so there's that. Card number 3. And finally we've got this card, and I'm going to do a little bit of other stamping. So I've stamped this twice and cut it out, or as I say, you could just put it on the piece of white paper I've given to you, trim it down to size. These are just smaller than the card, so you could trim it to 10 by the size of the 2 stamped images, and basically it's just going to sit on there like that. This is going to come across here with the sentiment and sit over the centre like so. Goes right over both sides because it's coming across there like that with the flowers in the middle. So you could just put it as a white strip, that would be fine. I just decided I wanted to use the dies and cut those out since I was cutting flowers anyway. And then before we put all this together, in the stamp set there's these little I don't know what they are. They're flowers, I guess, but they're just little almost like sycamore seeds, if you know what I mean. So I thought I'd put some random ones in, then see where these are going to go roughly. Yeah, so make sure you've got at least some showing, and you'll have some hidden, but that doesn't matter because you know you're doing it randomly, so that's okay. And if you wanted to add a few more sort of here-ish, then you could do that. And here-ish, there we go. So just to add a bit of interest to the background, that's what that's for. Right, so that's, but if you don't have pumpkin pie ink, then you could use Versamark, or you could just not bother. That's entirely up to you. Okay, so going back in with our pumpkins again. I want to go really, really deep with this one. So don't be afraid of actually just using your deep pumpkin, making it a really dark colour. So this time you're going to use the dark as your light as well as your dark. So I'll go back in just here a little bit. Make sure you're at your edges. Don't go over your edges. Okay. And then we can start to really lay some additional pumpkin really deep down in here, down underneath. So all of these middle petals would be darker as they're sort of crossing over each other in here, and darker as they start to come out. Now this is harder because you haven't got anything to blend it with other than itself. Okay, so don't rush this. You're going to just be adding extra dark of its own kind, so you have nothing to blend it out with, because I don't want to add any light to it. So you can dot it on once you've got it nice and saturated, and that will add additional colour and texture to it. And then I've purposefully left some pieces lighter so that you get that feeling of it being lighter here and just around the tops there. Okay, so that's how you use just your dark. Then we will do just the light for these ones. I think that's a leaf. Oh no, maybe it's a petal. That's a petal, that's a petal, that's a petal, so that must be a petal. Sometimes it's hard when you're looking at flowers to decide which bit's a petal and which bit's a leaf, but I think I've got it. You can always check in the catalogue if you're not quite sure, because they generally have pictures of things made with them and you can sort of tell where that goes. But again, there's no need to not put the darkness in, you know, the deeper tones underneath. This leaf, this petal here will be darker, for example, because it's underneath the other one. So add that in. I'm going to go ahead and colour the other one exactly the same as this, by the way, so you won't have to watch me do 2 sets of these. But you will have to do 2 sets of these to do this card. Sorry, not sorry, because it's going to be worth it. Okay, it's going to look amazing when it's done. This is the light Daffodil Delight that I've used on these flowers. And then we've got a few that are what I call puffy flowers, coming up like this. And they are actually the light ones, but they're not open yet, so I'm going to make those darker, just so that they sort of stand out a bit. And then I'm going to leave the other bits white, because sometimes it's nice to have a white element to this. But if you wanted to, you could make them brown, like a light crumb cake would work too for those. Okay, so I'll be back when I finished this one. Okay, so now we've got those done, I'm going to position these on my paper, oh, my paper pumpkin, no, on my pumpkin pie paper. Okay, so that's my base. Got no ribbon to worry about this time, so I can go straight on with this base. Like so. There we go. And then we're going to position these sort of one here and one here. So you don't want it too far down or too far up, and you need about a 2 centimetre gap in the middle, because you do want it to go over. And you'll notice that I've stamped my sentiment way over this side. I know you're all like, oh, what have you done that for? Because I'm going to put some gems over here, that's what I thought. So you can, if you want to, you can put these up on dimensions. I'm going on dimensionals rather. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to put these flat, and then I'm going to put the sentiment up on dimensionals. So pop that in there roughly, like where you want it to be. And I just went over the line there a little bit, but it doesn't matter because it's going to be underneath my sentiments, so that's fine. Drop this one down here a little. Just double check that you've got, yeah, you don't want to cover up masses. You spent all that time colouring it, so you don't want to cover up masses of your work. But if you just cover up a little bit, and I'm sorry that this is a little tight, these strips to the word, but it just fits beautifully in between the two, so it kind of needed to be this size. We will dimensional this one. There we go. I love the richness of the paper of the pumpkin pie with the Just Jade. It's just yummy. Remembering it goes edge to edge. Make sure it's straight, Pip. Straight. Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good. There we go. And then you have a few of these little green gems. So I thought I'd scatter a couple. 1, 2, 3 on here. Where's my thing gone? There it is. And we've got the 2 different types, so I thought I'd do shiny on the edge. Oops. There we go. Shiny at that edge. And then what's the other one called? Opaque, that's the other one. I think. Oh no, these are all shiny, aren't they? They're all upside down. Because they're all upside down, Pip. Silly woman. There we go. There we go. There. So, obviously if you wanted to, you don't have to do that. You could make it central and scatter them across the back. I understand if you don't want to do that from an OCD perspective. So there we go. That is our blends class for September. I hope you've enjoyed it and that you agree that Just Jade and Pumpkin Pie work delightfully together, I think. And just adding those extra little touches. This one just with the ribbon looks nice, I think, but I do like the others with just the little gems and the wooden elements. So there you go, cool. Don't forget we have another Blends Club class starting hopefully by now that you're booked into. And yes, don't forget, if you stay for the first 6 or 6 consecutive, depending on when you join, but if you stay for 6 consecutive, then you get a free spend with me. So don't forget that if you want to do that, you'll just need to keep booking in. Alrighty. Thanks ever so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed my blends class today, and I will see you again soon. Take care for now. Bye bye.